Hi guys, happy Friday and welcome to Guild Chat. I'm your host Ruby and we're talking today about the latest Living World episode in Guild Wars 2, Cracking the Ice. So we're going to go ahead and get started. I want to say hi to our developer guests and let them introduce yourselves. I'll start with Anthony and just let us know who you are and what you worked on for this episode.
As you mentioned, my name is Anthony. I worked on.
I'm telling the truth.
Good job. I'm working on, I did work on the mastery for episode 3. Yeah. That was my contribution and the events that went with it.
Yeah, the beacon events?
Yeah, the beacon events. And the snowstorm stuff, although I didn't make the snowstorm. The great artist did.
I'm sorry, it's all on you now. Too late.
My name's Alina Chadwick. I'm a content programmer, which means I'm a half gameplay programmer, half designer. I worked on events in the open world that are not the beacon events, and doing things like putting cute Quaggins in the Quaggin City and stuff like that.
I'm Kevin Freeman, and game designer, did the Precocious Oreen instance at the very beginning.
Awesome. Thank you, guys. I do want to say that at the end of today's episode, we're going to be taking some questions. So if you have questions during the show, put them in chat, and at the end, we'll pick a few and have you guys answer them. So let's go ahead and jump in by talking about the story. Precocious Oreen was a really fun one. Oreen's important because, yes, she's super cute, but she's also, this is the first dragon that we've hatched in this game, and we had a hand in it, so it's kind of a big thing. But it's also important that we maybe get a handle on this and make her our friend before she's big enough to eat us. So the dragon training instance, it was kind of fun. You know, we had a few hiccups there at the beginning that were important to get worked out. All of those oohs, oh my gosh. But as far as getting her to work with us, how did you figure out, okay, what direction do we want to go with this? What kind of things do we want to teach her, and how do we want to make this happen?
When we first sat down and worked on this, the first thing that I did was I looked at a couple of different codes of chivalry and Bushido codes, and took what was similar between the two of them, and then I did some research on child development and different methodologies of teaching values to children through gameplay in a school setting versus a home setting, and that's kind of where everything branched off of.
Wow. Okay, that's a lot more elaborate than. So chivalry and child development, no big deal.
well, you know, we haven't really done something like this before, and so I felt like it was important to at least make sure that that it was building off of a solid foundation.
Mm-hmm. Do you feel like it came onto live the way you wanted it to?
Yes. There were some things that were part of my original design that didn't come through to the very end, but you know, that's just the nature of game development, you know. So I think that what we ended up with works very well with the system, and I'm very happy with what we did. Yes.
Yeah, there are amazing things that exist in our heads in the world of unlimited technology,
right,
and in the magical world where we have actual magic powers and can create
right,
things.
Yeah.
I don't know. You've got me curious now. Are there things that you can tell that?
Sure. Yes.
Okay.
It wasn't like okay. So originally, we knew from the beginning that there were going to be people who did not necessarily want to participate in this kind of fluffy, touchy-feely
Right.
thing.
It's not everybody's thing.
Right. It's not everybody's thing. Exactly. So what I had attempted to do at the beginning was make all of the different activities that you could engage with Oreen in separate, completely separate and non-linear. That way, if you didn't want to teach her about helping the needy, for example, then you could just do the defending the weak over and over again until your bar filled up, and then get out. Mm-hmm. So unfortunately, that was not something that we were able to make work. I tried very hard to make that work, but
Right.
it didn't work, and so that's why we went with a linear progression.
All right, that's fair. Again, that magical world where we can do anything that we want.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I have a question.
Oh, sure.
How long until Aurene gets big enough to actually eat us?
That will be in redacted.
Oh, you're good. You're good. You're frightening. I
Well, you
need to-
mentioned, we got to train her before she eats us. So
She
I want to know
did.
how long I have.
I want
'Cause,
how long you have before you can make her eat someone?
No, how
or,
long, well, actually, that would
or
be
how long
fantastic.
you have before you need to run?
But yeah, how long until I need to run?
Okay.
Like, what if I didn't do a good job training her?
Okay, you just got me curious about your motivations is all. I wanted to know whether it was safe to play with you or not. All right, so the next story... So actually, I do have to pause and say how much I loved having to stop and explain to her, please don't eat the fish. These are for literal orphans. Please stop it. And she's just like, I don't know if I really want to give you this or not. She has to like kind of stop and think about it. And
Yeah.
That was
Like,
a
no,
beautiful
seriously.
teaching moment that the writers put in there. I was very, very happy. It was the perfect spot for it, and I was very pleased.
yeah, she's not this perfect little obedient thing. She's I'm not sure if I feel like doing what you want me to or not. Let's talk about this. Yeah,
Anyone
she's-
has a dog can see those, like, those computations happening, right? Like,
You know, we were talking earlier if she was like more dog-like
Oh,
or
yeah,
more
that's right.
cat-like. Maybe that's that dog. Maybe that's that little dog part creeping in because I've got cats, and Cat would have eaten the fish and left. I'm done with you. I'm out. Thank you for helping me get some food. I have no further use for you. I'm gone. I'll see you later. So, all right. So we got through that. That took us to the next story step, which takes us to Bitterfrost Frontier, which I'm having so much fun with. So thank you guys for that.
good.
There's a lot going on here. You've got the Coden and Quaggan working together. The killer whale Quaggan are the cutest. So I'm just giving you full credit for that. I don't care how much you did, but you said you put Quaggan in there, so and you're in here and nobody else is. So. You get that. We're trying to work with the Gruul. We've got the mushrooms running around. Trying to mix up this really sketchy elixir from the Svanir that he says it's like made in small batches, and we've got to do all of this stuff, and I'm convinced he's just like mixing it all in a bathtub somewhere in the back.
Yeah.
I'm not entirely sure what's going on there. I'm working on it. We've also got the Beacons of Coda event and these new skills. The thing is, there's a really good variety of activities happening here, plus use of your masteries to get around. How did you guys get all of these different things going on without making it feel like a huge confusing mishmash of events? I mean, there's a good spread, but it's not overwhelming.
I mean, that's kind of what makes Skill Wars 2 special. I think there's a whole bunch of zones even in the base game where you go, and there's a couple of like storyline throughfares that go through all these zones. But a lot of times you get a lot of like one-offs or these little variety events, or like the Renown Hearts that are something completely different. I think that's what makes the game special, right? If we just built a map about one thing, right? If it was just about like finding Bram, right, for example, and that was all there was in the map, I think it would be very hard for somebody to go in there and run into something unexpected
Yeah.
and have it make sense.
I'd say we had an advantage with this map because the map is actually very organized. There's like distinct areas, and we had the ability to say, okay, these are the distinct areas that we want in the map. Here's the distinct story that we're going to tell in each of these areas, and then take those stories and then like put them into a overarching narrative. Which this is the first map that I've worked on as a designer, so it's a little new to me, and it's like, oh, this worked really well. Maybe that's what everyone always does.
Yeah.
But it worked very smoothly because we were able to split it up like that, and because each area we were able to focus on, let's focus on this Varnier area instead of let's focus on the entire map and like try to juggle these pieces.
Yeah. So it kind of lent itself to a certain type of events depending on what was already there.
Yeah.
Yeah. So with the Beacons of Coda event, I mean, you have this overarching thing that you kind of know the underlying story of what's going on.
Yeah, so the Beacons of Coda thing kind of came, I admit, kind of came out of left field. It started with the idea that we would do this mastery that was based on ancient magic, right? Which was, we were kind of looking through some of the lore, and the Codan have a particular story about how, at the beginning of their civilization or their tribes or whatever, they had a number of spirits that they were like entrusted to look after, right? And so, the spirit of fire was kind of a natural like guess, and then we kind of, me and I think Angel, we kind of went back and forth on some ideas for that, including like what if the spirit of fire had kind of existed in this one place and then it was spread, right? So if you go to the town in the map, there's one central beacon where all of the fire technically comes from, right? And you can spread it outwards to the map. That was kind of what we wanted, and we wanted people cooperating to sort of install these places where you could pick up the fire, right, and then use it to do things. And you would need to do that with the mastery.
Okay, so you had there was a good place to
Yeah,
start from.
Yeah. And then just the idea of this map being this open kind of snowstorm wasteland, right, where it's very cold, very difficult to survive without trying to work in some bizarre survival mechanics like hunger or whatever, or freezing to death.
Perhaps bitter cold.
Yeah, well, so bitter cold, right? Bitter cold is actually a really great example of how that works, right? Like, I like the way that bitter cold works in that particular region. I think if we tried to do it for the whole map, it would have been obstructive. And there was at one point in time, I had gone through some iterations of being cold on the map. Was initially this idea that you would just get chilled every now and then, which was it didn't work. And then we eventually came up with the ice storm guys that like wander around, right? And you can kill those guys. So it's, I don't know, it's a little more action gamey kind of paradigm for how you would experience cold.
So here's the thing that I actually have not told you.
Okay.
I was like blasting through the story, and I was kind of in a hurry, and I wasn't paying attention.
You didn't do it.
So I sort of did.
Okay.
It was just that I had a lot going on, and I wanted to hurry up and get this stuff done.
Yeah.
And I got into the area with the bitter cold, and I ran out of time because my work day was over, and I wanted to go home.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, I'll just park right here.
Oh.
I don't really need to tell any more of this story, do I?
We know it.
So yeah, I got home that night and I was like, okay, log back in. I got to figure out how to get over there to that guy. And I logged back in and it hurt so bad.
It did hurt.
It did. So yeah, it's slow down, pay attention because it's throughout the whole map. I would have hated that so bad.
Yeah.
So then I was like, okay, well, I can just glide out of here really fast. No, it wasn't good at all. I just went into a down state, crashed to the ground, and I was done.
Yeah, that's what happened.
So, yeah, when you said that, having that through the whole map, I just went, oh, please.
Yeah, we
No,
tried a couple
please.
ideas. Like
Please, no.
there's always a fine line between wanting to make the mastery feel really important and then making it terrible to experience it without it, right?
Yeah. It was... Now, having the Coda's Flame, having the staff, that feels pretty great. The new skills are super fun once you've got that mastery.
Yeah, those went through a few iterations. The tough part with those
Really?
was, and somebody even asked the question, is there a reason why you can only use the torch skills 5 times? The reason why is because we didn't want the bundle to replace your player skills. Like, we're super, I would say that as a department, we're super afraid of doing that to people, making it feel like you're out of your profession, right? And so you've got this item that's either better than your skills or worse than your player skills. Like, I'm not sure which one is worse for the player, right?
Yeah, feeling like you're hobbled if you've got it.
Yeah.
Or feeling like you're hobbled once you don't have it anymore.
Yes.
Either one is not great.
So yeah, the limitation really is so that you can pick it up, get some easy kills with it or whatever, use it to do something that's important to you, and then dispose of it really quickly. And it's really easy to just use it for a big moment and then go get it again if you need it.
Yeah.
So it's limited for a reason. And also, there's a couple of cooperative mechanics in there where you can kind of share and spread it between yourselves. So if you're working together very closely, there's no reason anyone ever has to run out. But it does require some coordination.
Yeah, those are fun. Those are. I'm gonna ask this. Can you tell me about some of the iterations that it went through? Are there
Yeah.
things that didn't make it?
I mean, there was a whole bunch of ideas for that. One of them was the initial idea for, I think, the fourth skill was that you would spawn a fire tornado that would chase down the ice tornadoes. But the ice tornadoes got less prevalent. They don't exist during the daytime, so it was a little more useless. And then there was other versions. They were just weaker. They used to be those skills used to be weaker. So like the fireball was just kind of a slow-moving fireball. And then we added the bouncing thing. It ended up being unlimited. But like just speeding all that stuff up and making it feel really impactful and fast, right? So initially, I think the sprint wasn't on there. It's all about like using that thing as a utility and then just just dropping it.
Yeah. Now we're done with this thing.
Yeah.
Okay. I like that. I'm really loving the idea of a fire tornado, but I just overload my
Someday.
fires. No, I'm cool. I'm a tempest, and I just overload my elementalist skill and call it good. Maybe that's what it is. It just feels like more of what I already have.
Yeah, well, that's the danger, right? After a while, you start running over some of the like. If it feels too much like the elementalist fire staff, right? Then we've kind of lost.
Yeah,
so I think it's got to feel unique and it's got to feel powerful.
Yeah, this isn't that unique. It's a thing I already have, just with a different staff. Something that I did like, I'm seeing more of what we've seen in other recently released maps, use of the previously unlocked masteries to get around as far as gliding. The Unbound Magic and Karma and the Winter Berries, there are so many new rewards that I can pick up, so we can go through, play that map, and still keep getting new things for a while. It's not just, all right, day one. Okay, I'm sure some of you got all of the rewards on day one. Take a nap. But there's some longevity there, and putting in all of those rewards was really something that I've been seeing us do on the new maps more and more, where we don't just feel like we're playing this and there's nothing new to earn and there's nothing new to get.
Yeah, I think we're getting better at finding a balance, because for a long time it was kind of the case that all of the new Living World stuff was limited to stuff that came out in the episode, right? Which was like everyone was kind of on the same playing field, and then there was the other version of that where we used one currency throughout like a whole season or whatever, and then you really only needed to play the first one, and then you just got to unlock all the rewards forever. So I think we found kind of a nice balance between like there's a kind of a through fair currency for season 1 or season 3, which is Unbound Magic, and then there's some other stuff specific to the map.
Yeah, it's working out well, and I agree. I think we're getting better at that.
Yeah, and the more we can incorporate the old masteries into the newer maps, I think it's great. Obviously, we want to find the balance so that the new mastery feels impactful, and it gives you a new way to experience the map. But like rewarding you for going back and playing all those old stuff is great.
Yeah, that game is still there.
Yeah, it's still there, absolutely. Yeah, and that's actually really interesting. I was wandering around the other day in the I can't remember what it's called, Lava Island.
Ember Bay?
Ember Bay, yeah. And there were still people there hanging out, having a good time.
Yeah,
So-
I was in there this morning, and I kind of had this assumption that everybody was going to be hanging out in Bitterfrost because that's the new shiny. And yes, it's super crowded, but then I went over to Ember Bay and there were just as many people there. And it's nice to see because there's still a lot going on there too.
Yeah.
So yeah. Somebody mentioned Bram a few minutes ago. We need to talk about Bram because everybody has something to say about Bram, which I feel like I know how you feel about Bram.
Yeah, I'll let them talk.
No, he is. I mean, he's kind of unlikable right now. And yes, he's grieving. He just lost his mom. They were just starting to reconcile. So I get that it's kind of a blow. I got curious because I was seeing so many players talk about it that, yes, I get that he's upset. Yes, I get that he's having a hard time. But he's still being really incredibly obnoxious and awful.
That's kind of from your point of view, though. Like, it's easy to think that because you're kind of locked into a certain perspective as a player. I see Bram as it's oftentimes when there's some like issue in the world and like you're looking into fixing it, and there's the slow way that everyone seems to be taking, and you're like, well, why aren't we doing something like more now, more
Do
like
it faster.
right,
Just do
faster.
this.
Exactly. It's like, are you sure that thing you're doing? Sure, you've got this like grand plan, but it's not moving anywhere. It's going so slow. And like that's a very real frustration, and that's how I see Bram as it's like, sure, you've got this plan, you've had plans before, etc., but the dragons are still here. I could bash this dragon, you know,
Song
and
stuck
that
in my
would
head
be and that would be a way more active solution that that is a lot more oh, what's the word I'm looking for? It feels better, you know.
Yeah, he's impatient. He's done with our screwing around because it's not getting anything done.
Right.
And that's actually kind of where I wanted to go with this, because I've been listening to what so many of the players have to say, and I was interested in your guys' take as players or as developers, either one. I wanted to see what you guys thought.
Well, it's not just impatience is obviously part of it, but
Yeah.
another part of it is here we are as the player, the commander. I've gone and killed 2 dragons. I'm telling you, chill. I know you want to go off and kill a dragon too, but why don't you just not? And that's like, excuse me? Why are you the only person who can be doing this? I can do something too. So I think it's a combination of a little resentment mixed with the impatience.
Yeah.
I think it's an interesting place for his character to go. I think for a long time, Bram's just kind of been, this is gonna sound awful, but he's kind of a color on the wall, right? Like he's got his Bram opinion about stuff, but then he just kind of follows you around everywhere you go. And he's competent, but he's never really expressed any will of his own. I think it's interesting that he's doing that now, that he's got an opinion, and it may not be your character's opinion or the player's opinion. That's if you hate him and you love to hate him, I think we've succeeded there, right? Like if you can feel something about that character, that's great. That's great for him.
Yeah, I think something that's good about that, and we talked about that a little bit, that it's okay that not every character is perfect and compliant and lovable and says everything that you want them to say.
Yeah.
Sometimes they're going to be jerks, and sometimes they're going to be unlikable. But if they're making you react and they're making you feel something,
Yeah, absolutely.
even if it's anger, and as one of our players said, I got curious once I saw all of this discussion, and I did just an impromptu Twitter poll on the Guild Wars 2 Twitter channels. It was in all 4 languages. I was just looking at the English ones, and I was just, what did you think of his behavior? Did you feel like you understood where he was coming from? Were you cool with it? Or did you feel like he was out of line? And one of the most recent responses that I saw was, I wanted to put that bow where the sun doesn't shine. It's like, well, that sure is how you feel, but you are having strong feelings about this, and I like that.
Yeah, people are really engaged, right, with that story, and I think that means, from the developer perspective, that means that we're succeeding, right?
Yeah.
Like if people are interested, they have really strong opinions, and they're not opinions like, for the most part, they're not opinions like this was completely like unexpected, right? Like this is kind of the thing that you expect someone like that to do, right? To be more independent, right? Especially given all of it, like, dude lost his mom, he strayed in the jungle for a while, it changes you, right? I think that's more interesting than anything else we could have done with him.
Yeah.
And he's kind of becoming a hero. Like, sure, he's splitting from the player, but he's going from, like, lackey to, like, he does an awesome thing at the end of the episode. That's a really big deal, you know. He's kind of awesome. I really like him.
And it can be a rocky journey. It's not always, now I am a hero and I am Captain Merrick and I am perfect and wonderful.
Sure.
I'm interested to see where it goes, because there's always stuff that we can't talk about that's coming up. I don't know. I'm not spoiled. I actually intend to go find some spoilers, but I don't actually know where it's going either. So I'm interested to see what happens after he flounces off and yells at us.
I'm not 100% sure of the details. Like, I don't know anything about the upcoming episodes, really. I've heard the high-level pitch for what happens this season. And all I can say is that I think we're headed in the right direction. For me as a player, like, I'm excited about this story. So
Cool. Okay, so I want to, as we kind of get close to wrapping up here, I want to talk about something as you guys were doing development, some of the bugs that we got worked out during development that were some of the more fun ones. Because this is the stuff I like. The things that you guys don't see that we get kind of cleaned up during development, but that are freaking hilarious. And I'm looking at Kevin because you're dying to, I know which one you're dying to talk about. And I'll let you start with that one.
All right. So we came in one day to work, and suddenly you hear off in the distance, "What the? Oh my God!" Poor Aureen somehow had her scale thrown off and was just super humongous everywhere. And I think I gave you a screenshot if you wanted to. There she is in the hide and seek, hiding. I wonder where she is.
That's the best part, is the player character going, I just don't know, man. I have no idea where she is.
No idea where she is. Oh, that was great. And after everyone freaked out, or finished freaking out, then everybody got a nice laugh out of it, and we got it fixed, and yeah, it was good times.
Yeah, it was absolutely hilarious because I didn't get to experience it myself, but I was sitting next to somebody who was playing it, and I just looked over at his screen, and when she's playing hide and seek and she's stealthing and she's like galloping through that room, and you're just looking, and it's like watching this enormous elephant. She's like the size of the room. She's bigger than the Asura gates, and you're just looking at it going, I can't make this fit in my brain. What's happening? And do we really need to fix it? Because it's pretty fantastic.
Yeah,
she had a growth spurt.
The number of bugs that people say that about, like, oh, do we need to fix that? Don't fix that.
Because it's so much fun. I mean, I'm looking at, remember how much everybody loved the airplane bug?
Oh my God, the airplane bug.
The airplane bug was like it was pretty funny.
It was fun. Yeah,
There's been better stuff.
Yeah, I mean, and I'm pretty sure that we put it back in the game intentionally, right? So
yeah.
I'm pretty sure everybody in the studio didn't want it really fixed either, right? But
oh my gosh! But yeah, enormous Aureen was watching her just gallop around was absolutely one of the greatest things. And I wish we had gotten video of that, but the screenshot was like one of the best things we had.
Yeah, it was good.
So, what else was something that we got worked out beforehand? Like the Ice Encased Wagon?
Yeah, so there was a couple of things that went wrong with that. So there's the Quaggan Hot Springs, and there's like several Quaggans there that are farming. So they're like walking from like one thing of plantiness to another. And okay, so when you fail that event and the storm hits, they get encased in ice. So originally, when they got encased in ice, they didn't stop moving. So they were like waddling around with this like big thing of ice on top of them.
This is one that I wish was still. This is another one. I'm like, can we put this on live with just the big chunks of ice going across
I mean,
there?
it's impressive. It's like that's some real like farmer dedication, right? There.
Right? These guys are not messing around. They have stuff to do, and every once in a while, I just want them to be like, "Food," as they hobble around with the enormous chunk of ice encasing them.
Yes, that's great.
You had the huge event radius for talking about stuff too, didn't you?
Yeah. I don't consider that a bug, but
That was,
there's a difference between a bug. This is just me being a programmer. There's a difference
sorry,
between
for
a
the rest of
bug
us, it's like
and
this is a thing that wasn't supposed to happen.
a not yet implemented. We're getting there.
Yes.
Yeah. So when you walk within the event radius of the Ice Brewed Wolf event, um, there's some player lines that you say, and so it's like, oh, wolves, and like, I wonder if they're wanting to eat baby griffins or stuff like that. So that's actually, there's some new tech there. We weren't previously able to key scripts off of entering the event radius. We could only key scripts off of entering the broadcast radius, and probably nobody knows what this means. The broadcast radius is a lot bigger. It's the radius when the thing in your UI appears.
Like there's an event
UI.
nearby.
Yeah. So it used to say those whenever that event would appear on your UI, and that event broadcasted basically the entire forest. So you'd basically enter the forest and be talking about these wolves that weren't around.
They're like a billion miles away, and you're kind of looking around going,
What?
Yeah, and that was like
That's
really low
nice.
on my to-do
They
list
must be after the baby
because
griffins.
I'm sensing that there's something going on with the baby griffins on the other side of the map.
yeah, that got a lot of exposure like throughout the company because it was really low on my to-do list because it was like not really important. It was just
Yeah.
polishy, and it was a decent chunk of work because I need to add that extra tech.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, I like that one. And then there's one that you were telling me about that one's on live, isn't it? The extra bounces on the Coda staff.
Yeah, so currently...
And I say extra like it's
yeah.
not very many.
Yeah. And so the backstory of this bug actually is there used to be an intrinsic limitation to our missile tech that prevented stuff from bouncing more than twice. I believe at some point that was modified to implement probably some crazy boss or something like that. So now you have to like specify a limitation. And for whatever reason, it appeared that those things were only bouncing 5 times, but they do in fact bounce unlimited times. Infinite bounces. So if you go up to, there's been some videos or whatever around the internet, right? If you go up to guys that are like, there's 2 guys standing next to each other, and you throw Coda's Reach at one of them, just bounce back and forth, back and forth, back and forth until they're dead. So enjoy that one. It's not fixed yet. It's not really hurting anything right now. It's just fun.
It's hurting those guys.
It's hurting. Yeah.
We're cool with that.
Well, yeah, but we hurt guys all the time in GW too. That's their job.
They're bad guys.
They're
so
bad
it's
guys.
Fine.
It's fine.
I'm sure it's fine.
It's fine.
Nice. All right. So I like that we left that one.
Yeah.
Just
Well, I'm sure it will get fixed eventually, especially if that's supposed to appear in other maps.
okay.
But yeah.
I'm sorry. I just got really excited about my gameplay.
Yeah, I mean, the idea with those is they're supposed to work anywhere, so those masteries, so
Yeah.
hopefully,
Well, and we want the map to be fun to play, and
yeah, well, sure. Well, I also don't want to, crap on someone
For
else's
now,
content.
yeah.
With unlimited missile ability.
now enjoy that little gift.
Yeah.
So, all right. Before we go to a short break, and if you guys have any questions, I'm seeing them start to pop up, and we will grab a couple of those after the break. I want to finish up with, now that this has been on live for a little while, and you guys have had a chance to go in there and play it with the community and see what the community's saying, I wanted to ask about some of your favorite player reactions that you've seen now that your work is on live and everybody's getting to play with it.
I'm glad that people are discovering stuff. I always like to see when they're peeling back the layers of the stuff you put in the game. We have the Coda's flame staff has a the head of it is actually, if you look really closely, it turns out it's kind of an image of a Codan, right? It's supposed to be Coda, and the feedback I got from that one early on in development was, oh, it's way too subtle. I didn't make it, but I actually really like it the way it is. I like it that you can look a little closer, and there's something there waiting for you if you look a little closer. And people have noted that. So to me, that's a big win.
Cool. Yeah, I like when they notice the little details.
Yeah, well, we have to put them in there, right? We can't smash you over the head with everything.
So, in reaction to some player reaction, I'm really sorry about murdering kittens. So, there's a new cat that you can get in this map. And the cat's in a bit of a predicament, with his family, and unfortunately his family didn't make it, and it's really
What?
sad.
I don't know why I laughed. I have no soul, I guess. Sorry.
Jeez. It just got so dark in here. Wow. I didn't know that.
Now he has a
I'm-
home. Now he lives in your home instance. What do you have to
Wow.
feed him, by the way?
Oh, you don't have to feed them.
Oh, you don't have to feed 'em.
They're encased in ice, and you need
Oh,
to.
you break 'em out of the
You break
ice.
them out of the ice
Okay.
with the.
So his
with the
entire
torch.
family dies, and you don't even give him anything to eat?
I mean,
That cat's
It-
gonna
it-
be
it-
like
it
he's gonna be
felt.
rugged. He's
You're a
gonna go to your
dog
home
person,
instance
aren't you?
and
No,
eat the other
I'm
cats.
totally a cat person. 100% cat person. It felt weird to feed the
I'd
cat.
say.
It felt weird for. I guess it's kind of a cat thing, but it felt weird to go to the cat and like free them from being encased in ice in the bitter cold, and then the cat's like, "Oh, that's not enough. I need you to get me this one specific dish also." You know.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't know. We every time that we encounter stray cats, like my wife is like the queen of the cat ladies. Like everywhere she goes, she finds stray cats.
I like your wife.
It's the
And
single best feature in our game right now.
yeah, it's great. But we'll go like we'll find kittens. Like we were we took a vacation once and we were driving around and there was these kittens hanging out in a dumpster, and she got out. She wanted to go feed those kittens, and I like. If he could have, one of those kittens would have pulled a switchblade on her. Like, they don't want to. He was fine.
And you're sitting in the car like,
Yeah. They looked at her and they're like, "Get away from us!"
Oh.
And they ran away.
and she's
So,
like, let me love
That's a very
you.
cat thing to do. To be like, "Oh, thanks for breaking me out. You got any food?" All right.
They need something to eat to warm up.
Yeah,
It's
there
the
you go.
thing. Jeez. I am not happy about this right now. I'm so sad.
I can't wait till you have so many cats in your home instance that it's just impossible to move around in there.
Please,
Wading through cats.
please, Kevin, tell me something happy about player reactions that you liked.
Oh, well, I've been watching a lot of player reaction videos and player walkthroughs of Precocious Marine, and one that I watched was actually a guild run, so there were multiple people on the screen, and one person in the group knew about the hidden toys, and so when they went into the room and he was like, "Guys, we have to get the hidden toys to get the achievement," everyone else was like, "What? Toys to give to the kids? Are you kidding me?" So that made me feel good that it just the idea of giving toys to kids like brightened their afternoon. Yeah, so that made me happy.
Yeah, I didn't know about that. I found out about this when you told me about it yesterday, and I was like, what?
Yeah.
Where exactly? Show me everything. So that's a fun one. I love those little hidden things in there. And I'm always curious, the first person who found that thing, how do you guys do that? I mean, are people just like scraping the walls and looking at
I
every
think so.
tiny little thing?
I think so. Like,
It just- yeah.
we back when I was on the current events team, we used to talk about this a lot. There's two kinds of challenges that you put in the game. One is something for the individual to discover, and those are often usually not that hard to find. The other thing is something for the community to discover and share, and that's something that MMOs, particularly Guild Wars 2, offers uniquely, right? You just can't. It just takes a billion people to find this one thing and then share it with everybody. I think that's, just as a player, right, that's really exciting that there might be something out there for me to discover. And then, I get all this social currency because I can share with everybody, right?
Yeah. That's so cool. All right, we're going to take a short break and watch a little Quaggan video that is currently blowing Kevin's mind. And we'll be back in a couple minutes, and we're going to answer a few of your guys' questions. So if you have any more, this is your last chance to put them in chat. We'll be right back.
Quaggan Deep Thought. The meaning of everything. deep can Quaggan swim? That depends on the meaning of the word deep. Cool! Quaggan just blew your mind. The little things. Cool! Quaggan wishes Quaggan had a tiny shrimp for every time Quaggan said Quaggan. Then Quaggan would have all the tiny shrimp. Fitting in. Quaggan feels sad for non-Quaggans who use personal pronouns. Participating in life. Wishing for the current to change won't make it so. Quaggan should always go with the flow. Ooh! Quaggan made a rhyme. What's in a name? Quaggan thinks Barracuda should get a new name. Something like stupid hungry fish. Barracudas don't understand talking, so Quaggan can call them whatever Quaggan wants without hurting stupid hungry fish. Half empty, half full. If Quaggan could drink all the water in the ocean, phoo, Quaggan's belly would hurt. What a bad idea. Outward appearances. If Quaggan had to pick one sense to lose, Quaggan would give up Quaggan's sense of style. Somebody else can always dress Quaggan.
All right, we are back. Are you guys ready for me to start throwing questions at you?
Sure.
I was glad you didn't say no because I'm going to do it anyway. All right, so our first question is for Alina, since you mentioned Quaggans. The Quaggans live in a place called Gulupa Deeps, and up until now, the name Deeps have been reserved for crate settlements. What's the backstory of this place that it's using a crate settlement name?
So, I can't really talk about the name because I'm not a writer.
Alright.
But, however, there is a conversation that you can find. So if you go explore around the city, the underwater part of the city, in one of the houses, so you can go into the houses and there's all sorts of hidden things in there. In one of the houses, there's two Quaggans. One has a name and the other is called Eldar. And there's a conversation on the named one that goes into a bunch of backstory on that settlement.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
See, these are those little hidden details that we were talking about before that I absolutely love. All right. In the Bitter Cold story step, Story Journal says, unlike the poor Quaggans and Coden I found there, I survived my encounter. However, these are not found in the instance. Were they cut from the final version? Where are they?
They're corrupted.
They're corrupted.
There's a number
Aw.
of corrupted Coden and corrupted Quaggan around that area.
They're dead.
All right. And y'all
They're
killed them. All right. Is it possible to make Coda's blessing aura a little bit bigger on the player characters?
My question is, how big do you want it? We can look into it. I've seen that a couple times. It's the troubling thing there is the bigger we make those kinds of effects, the more they compete for attention with all the other stuff you have on your character. So yeah, I'll have to follow up with the effects team.
Just see.
Yeah, I can, like I said, I can raise it.
As
see what they
always,
wanna do.
not a promise.
Yeah, not
just-
a promise, but I can.
We can look into it.
Make a look into it.
Okay. Let's see. Why was it decided to make Arctic Quaggan when there were already quaggan and ice-brewed quaggan in the Shiver Peaks? Well, Arctic quaggan and ice-brewed quaggan are evil. So they're bad guys. I'm thinking by Arctic quaggan, we're meaning like the little killer whale looking guys. Am I?
Yeah, they're the ones that have the orca
Yeah.
like spot in their black.
We
I
already
actually
had those, didn't we?
we do have those in the game. I'm not sure why what the functional difference is between those two guys. I think they just kind of thematically fit, but we can circle back to that one
Okay.
when Alina gets back.
Yeah. Let's see. I need to see more questions, but we have a couple more to look at that you guys can. I can let you guys answer. Will we ever get to know why there's a metal net at the bottom of the hot springs?
Don't know.
Let's see. Alina says no, so we're going to say it is to save you from yourselves.
Yeah, it's
Otherwise, you're just going to keep swimming down
Safety
until...
mechanism.
It's what?
it's a safety
It's
mechanism.
a safety mechanism. Otherwise, you're going to keep swimming until you can spend all your game time trying to get back to the top of the water. Let's see. Anthony said that he was in the current events team. Confirmed you did say that.
Yeah.
Did you move to another team, or did the current events team move to something different? Can we expect new current events in the future?
So my role at the company is currently to move around a lot. So I was helping with episode 1, and then doing some current events in the meantime, and then I helped out on episode 3 as well. So I jump around a lot. The current events team, I really like it. I think it's a really good idea. I would love to do more with those guys someday, but I know they still exist and they're working on current events. So right now I think that means Halloween and Winter's Day.
Yay.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's December. Winter's Day is coming soon.
Yeah, for sure. So I think that's what those guys are up to. And then, as for what's in the future, I don't know. I'd love to see a continuation of the riff romping storyline. But yeah, they have a bunch of storylines going on, like with the cats and stuff. So I expect that stuff will continue.
More cats. Just
Yeah.
cats from wall to wall in our home instance.
Yeah, it would be a shame if it didn't.
All right, how about why doesn't the new map have a map boss? I'm going to look at you for this, Anthony.
Yeah, the new map.
Why, Anthony? Why?
Yeah, why? Because it didn't have time to add one. It's probably the correct answer there. I mean, I would love to put one, like a big guy in there. It just wasn't a big emphasis for this map. This map was mostly about exploration and advancing the story. So it's got some bosses. It's got those champions in there, which you can kind of lure out if you do the meta events. We flirted with the idea of putting the Claw of Jormag in there, or at least I did, or like a supersized ice storm or something along those lines. It just didn't feel like it was an emphasis for the map, and I think it would have been really hard to pull off without competing for all the other stuff that's going on in there. I think events that involve like meta events that involve doing a bunch of smaller things, like killing a bunch of champions, those have a place in the game. I don't think we've seen one of those in a while.
Yeah.
So I think those are good. We'll get back to a map boss someday. I can almost guarantee it.
Awesome. Yeah, we have more stuff coming up.
Yeah.
It turns out we are not going to go home at the end of the day and never come back.
Yeah, it turns out we're still chugging along.
We're still coming to work.
Yeah.
So, all right. That is the last question we have. So we are going to call it good. Thank you all for spending some time today.
Thanks for inviting us.
I know you have a lot going on. Make sure you guys, well, thank you first for coming and spending some time with us today. I also appreciate that. Make sure you guys follow us here on Twitch. If you're watching later, subscribe to our YouTube channel because we really like it when you don't miss out on our shows. And join us next week for another Guild Chat on December 9th. So thank you guys, and I will see you next week.